During his visit to the southern border, Republican Senator Ted Cruz got confronted by a reporter about the dishonesty of his party on the subject of the southern border. He quickly became rather unhappy and attempted to push back. They got in kind of a back and forth. I want to show you this clip and then we'll break down why Ted Cruz's response is so dishonest. Credit to this reporter for asking good questions and making some good points. Take a look.
You have voted down multiple times different policies. So what have specifically the Republican members that are here today, what have you all done to help Joe Biden in this?
Okay. All right. So that's a ridiculous and silly question. I want to commend you for being the media and telling a Democrat policy. So let me ask you something.
Come on, man. That's been going on for 20 years.
Okay. Hey, let me ask you something. Let me ask you something. What rate of illegal immigration did we have in 2020?
But you have.
Do you know anything? I asked you a question.
Been in office?
Do you know anything?
How long have you been in office?
I've been in office 11 years now.
And this has been kicked the count during multiple administrations.
Except you don't get to argue with me. You asked your question. You asked your question. You don't get. You want to hold a press conference? You can do it over there.
You have multiple.
You want to hold a press conference? You can do it over there.
How are you?
So hold on. I'm going to answer his question. The talking point of the Democrats, which this media reporter happily parrots, is, gosh, the problem can't be fixed. There's one little problem with that. It is an utter and complete lie. In 2020, the last year of the Trump presidency, we had the lowest rate of illegal immigration in 45 years. You ask, what have I done? I've championed the men and women of Border Patrol. I've championed securing the border. I've championed Remain in Mexico.
So up front, I'll just say it's hilarious that Ted Cruz's entire argument responding to the reporter rests on the undocumented immigration numbers from 2020 specifically, because movement significantly slowed in 2020 due to the pandemic, obviously. The virus impacted so many different things, including migration, many places, including North America. So surely, if that's your big argument, you would be okay not talking about the unprecedented year, Ted Cruz, right? Let's go 1 year back. 2019, Trump was still president. Higher border encounter numbers than any year during the Obama administration. Notably less than what we're experiencing today, absolutely. But would they say that means Obama's policies were amazing? No, of course not. As to what's going on today, immigration, both documented and undocumented, are such complicated subjects and what increases and decreases numbers at any given moment in time. So it can be tough to attribute certain numbers to just a few variables. Obviously, Republicans want to do just that and say it's all because of Biden, but can't really give specific policy differences that would have caused that. It likely more has to do with the end of the pandemic, or the slowing of the pandemic, and a backlog of migration that the pandemic caused now being felt, and then a bunch of variables in the countries people are migrating from. That is often ignored by many, including many Republicans, when it is the most significant variable. Now, what often gets lost also in conversations like this one is that the goal shouldn't just be decreasing border encounters. It should be setting up a logistically effective and humane system at the border. Before I discuss more on the solutions we should be talking about, let's just get out of the way the dishonest GOP talking points quickly. First, a little bit of context. Right now, the COVID-era policy Title 42 has expired, which is expected to cause an increase in migration across the southern border. You've probably been hearing about this in the news. Title 42 is a public health policy that allows Border Patrol agents to immediately turn around and expel migrants because of a public health emergency. So that's expiring. And that's why Ted Cruz and Republicans are down at the border trying to capitalize on this moment to attack Biden and the Democrats. But it's clear, as I've said many times on the show, that many of these Republican lawmakers who do these big public stunts pretend to be very concerned. They're uninterested in actually talking about solutions to logistical and humanitarian problems that we are experiencing, real problems at our southern border, because they're constantly lying about Biden. If they wanted to discuss a solution, they would be honest about the problem, about the situation at hand. But instead, they're saying Biden is an open border policy and has stripped away the Border Patrol of all their power and all these different things. When in reality, as I said during a recent segment on the border, one of the criticisms from the left of Biden is that his border policy has been too similar to Trump's. He's taken steps for sure in a more humane direction in some areas, not separating children from their families being one example, but many progressive groups still say he hasn't done enough. So for these Republicans, it's clearly not about the facts. It's about the photo ops and the fear mongering and attacking Democrats and Biden, which is just not how we address the problems at hand. But that brings me to my next point. Republican lawmakers and Democratic lawmakers clearly see that phrase I just said, problem at hand, very differently. When Democrats have put forward immigration reform legislation, Republicans aren't on board with it because it would increase legal immigration and I guess to them just all immigration from certain countries is bad, undocumented or documented. I've said it before. It's true that we shouldn't have undocumented immigration because we should have an expanded and enhanced legal immigration system. Soon after Biden came into office in 2021, Democrats put forward an immigration reform bill that would have done a bunch of stuff, including increasing the number of immigration court judges, putting forward a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants, and allocating resources to Central American countries like El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, to address kind of the root causes of those countries' high migration rates to the United States. Those are the conversations that we should be having, but Republicans often refuse to have them. And I will say, this is obviously a complex issue because it's been grappled with for decades now, and comprehensive immigration reform legislation, it just has been so difficult to successfully get through because of bad faith actors and good faith actors having a hard time coming to some sort of consensus. So I recognize that, but especially in this moment, there's just so much dishonesty at play too, in how Republicans are approaching this issue. It seems when I go through some of those reforms that I just did, it all has to be ignored because all they want to talk about, Republicans, I guess, is border security, which Biden's also proposed in his 2024 budget, allocating nearly $25 billion to U.S. Customs and Border Protection and Immigration and Customs Enforcement. It's a nearly $800 million increase over the 2023 enacted level. But again, me even interacting with their criticisms is sort of pointless because it's not an actual conversation about solutions for them. It's just a political tool. And by the way, on the subject of the border, Trump showed support, you might remember, for bringing back his child separation policy if he became president again during the CNN town hall that took place recently.
Was the zero tolerance immigration policy that separated families at the border. If you are reelected, are you ruling out instituting that?
Well, when you have that policy, people don't come. If the family hears that they're going to be separated, they love their family. They don't come. So I know it sounds harsh.
Obviously, such an inhumane policy. We're talking about human beings here. And that's the proposal from Trump. And also, the United States economically and otherwise would benefit greatly from an expanded legal immigration system. I'll close out with this, a quick summary of what we should be doing. Because again, we're experiencing real problems, absolutely, at the southern border. Humanitarian and logistical. Three-pronged approach. Okay, let's break it down like this. The first is countries of origin. As Democrats propose, we should be coordinating with and investing in countries to address root causes. The second is at the border, proper resources for management, processing, housing, security, all of that for right at the point of contact, making sure every individual is accounted for and treated humanely. And then immigration system at large. And that has so many aspects to it, increasing caps on legal immigration, streamlining the asylum process, more immigration court judges, as the Democrats proposal put forward, and so many other things as well. But there are real solutions that we should be discussing, and we're not, because it's just this kind of political tool that's used to attack.